For now, let's just simply create a vendor. So we want to create a vendor, ABC Supply Company. And how do you create a vendor? Under purchasing, master data, vendor, central, create. And if you look at these transactions, you'll see a common pattern. There is a 01 for create, 02 to change, and 03 to display. And in fact, that's the common pattern that you see across most of the easy access transactions. Now, when I mean easy access, so it's the huge menu path that you see as soon as you log in, as opposed to SPRO. So SPRO is also a huge list of menu that's completely in a different transaction called SPRO. But easy access is what you see as soon as you log in. Let's do it in SAP. Go back. You want to save it? No. So under purchasing, go to master data, vendor, purchasing, or central, go to create. Now we don't want to create everything from scratch again. Instead, let's copy the same vendor 1222 and just change the name. So company code US01, purchase org US01, account group 0001, just use it for now. And the reference vendor is 1222, company code 3000, purchase org 3000. Hit enter. It says account group 0001 uses external number assignment. What does this error mean? There's something called as number ranges. What's a number range? A number range represents a range of numbers that can be assigned to an object. In this case, vendor. We're going to explore more on number ranges later, but for now, it's asking you to assign a number to it. So just say 4001 or 4002 or 5001, any unique number. So I'm going to put in 4001, hit enter again, and then give the vendor name ABC Supply Company. And you can just give it a search term. We're going to put in some address like 1000 Dennis Drive, Chicago, US, Illinois. As soon as you enter that address, you see this error. Communication error with the external tax system. What does this error mean? This only happens when you pick a US address. If you pick a Japanese address or a German address, you don't get that problem. Why do you get that? Let's talk a brief bit about what's a jurisdiction code. The jurisdiction code, for our purpose, basically is something that's used in the US for tax. If you take the map of America, there are different states, right? And then Illinois is right here. And in Illinois, there are so many counties and districts. So the easiest thing to understand a jurisdiction code is, if you pass along one of the interstates, you would see that the price of the gas really varies across each of the gas stations. Why? Because the tax in each of the jurisdiction codes could be different. And the jurisdiction code basically is a combination of state plus county plus city plus district. So district is not used for the most part. It's mostly state, county and city. So based on the combination of state, county and city, the state levies a tax, the county levies a tax, the city levies a tax. For example, in a particular Illinois county, the state Illinois levies a 5% tax, one of the counties levies a 3% tax, and the city could levy a 1% tax. So overall, it's 9% of sales tax. This is sales tax. Overall, 9% in tax. And if you move right across to the next county, the price could be different for the same gas. And because there are so many different jurisdictions, there are different ways in which these jurisdiction codes are automatically computed in SAP based on the address you entered. And that can happen when there is an external system providing the jurisdiction code based on the address entered. And that's why you see an external tax system communication failed error. Now, we don't need to bother about jurisdiction codes in a test system, right? So what do? You go to SPRO or the transaction OBBG, and against US, change the tax procedure to tax US. So let's do it. The transaction is OBBG. Again, go back. OBBG. Select US. And then instead of tax USX, just put in tax US. Click Save. And then you can say change Now let's try to create a vendor. 4001 ABC Supply Company. The search code is ABC and some address in Chicago, Illinois. Now you should not see that error. So let's keep going. Hit enter. Hit enter. 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 Enter and save. So you've just created the vendor 4001 as ABC Supply Company. Now before you go create a purchase order, there is another transaction that you have to set. It is set in the tax rates. So go to another transaction, FTXP. Again, this is a finance transaction, don't worry about it. This is where you set the tax rates for input or output. So select US and then select an input tax, AP sales tax. No, don't bother about the term input output. Click OK. Input tax is basically what you pay, and output tax is what you collect. And then put a tax rate of 0 and click save. Now let's try to create this purchase order again. So go to 4001, hit enter, and try purchase order US 01. some purchase group, and company code US01. Alright, now that error is gone. Okay, what's the material that we want to enter? BP401, right? So BP401 is flour, and we want to say 100 kilos or 100 pounds. And then it says enter a plant. The plant is Chicago, CHI1. Oops, we've got the same problem. Material not maintained for plant Chicago 1. It's similar to the vendor problem. Basically, like I said, all master data should be created for the respective org elements. So if you are choosing, earlier we were using the material BP401 for the plant 3100 and company code 3000. It worked fine. The reason is somebody has created that material in the plant 3100. So anybody can create a transaction like a purchase order or a goods receipt in that plant. Now we have created a new plant. So this material either needs to be extended to the new plant or you need to create a new material. So let's go ahead and create a new material. How do you do that? Close purchasing, and under material management go to master data, material, create MM01. So this is a transaction again you'll be using quite a lot. So I want to create flour, FLOUR. You just want to tag it as a 01 or a 02 so that you can create so many different kinds of flours. And choose an industry sector, retail. A material type is raw material because it's a raw material. Click OK and select a basic data and purchasing data and accounting data. Again, this might look like Greek and Latin at this point. In the next set of videos, we're going to focus exclusively on master data. Just click OK and select the plant Chicago. Hit OK. It's just that these things are all tied up together. Master data, enterprise structure, transactions, customizing. You can't really do one without the other. So I'm just pitching in by helping you here and there so that we can get started with executing the transactions. But as we go forward with customizing, we learn all the key pieces of the puzzle. And by the end of the course, you'll understand all the different kinds of errors and what we have to do to fix each of those problems. We're going to give it a name, flour. The base unit of measure is, say, pound, and the material group is 015, doesn't matter. And the purchasing group, I'm going to say 300. Enter. And evaluation class is, say, 3000. And we're going to say moving average. Enter. And say yes. Okay, material flour is created. You can see that message in the left bottom corner. Now let's go try and create a purchase order again. Purchasing, purchase order, create, go to vendor 4001, enter a purchase org US01, company code US01, and material flour 01, and a quantity of, say, 100. And where do you want to create it? You know you have to enter a plant on the right, right? CHI1. Let's see if it works. There is an error, but that's not related to the material. It says net price must be greater than 0. Say put a price of $4 per pound. That's it. We're done. Save it. Pick up this PO. Control C. Go back and do a goods receipt against it. How do you do goods receipt? Follow on functions, MyGo. Put the PO number in there, hit enter, and where do you need to store it? You need to store it in raw materials because flour is a raw material. Hit enter. Click item OK and then click on check. See if everything is okay. Okay, document seems okay. Click on save. There we have an error. For object blah blah blah, number range 50 does not exist. So what do? Open another window. Go to transaction FBN1. Select the company code US01 and then click on intervals and say interval and then go to insert interval and say 50 for year 2016. Enter a number. And click on save. Let's go back and try and save this goods receipt. The reason why we are doing these transactions again after doing the new enterprise structure is to ensure that we iron out all these little problems, number ranges, posting periods, that kind of stuff. So once we have our own set of enterprise structure, materials, customers, then we can easily do these transactions without bothering too much about the kinks. All right. So our goods receipt is posted. Let's also post an invoice receipt. Go to MyRow. Put the purchase order in. The invoice date is today because that's when we have received it. And then it says in company code 01, the number range 51 is missing. So in company code US01, the number range 51 is missing for the year 2016. Again, how do you fix that? Go here and then give it a number range. So interval 51 2016, instead of 51 just type in 52. So put in a 52 number range. So number ranges have got to be exclusive. So click OK and then save again. Go back and try to execute this transaction. Okay, what's the amount for? It's 400. So enter an amount of 400. The balance is 0. Now try and post it. Our invoice is posted. So what have we done here? We have started with clearing out some of the errors, like fixing the jurisdiction code problem, setting an input tax percentage of 0. And we have created a vendor 4001 and copied it with reference to 1222. And we've also tried to create our own material. We could not use BP401 because it was not created in the new set of enterprise structure elements. So go to material master, material and create, give a material name, flower, and select a material type of raw material. Select basic view, purchasing view, and accounting view. And then go create a PO with the vendor 4001 for material flower 01. And while doing SGR, we had some issues. We had issues with number ranges. So we went to FBN1 and then created number ranges for 50 and 51. And after that, we were able to do a goods receipt and invoice receipt. Let's check the stock and see if we really got the stock. Now let's see if we really got stock for flour. So go back and go to MMBE and put in flour for Chicago plant and click execute. It should show you the stock that we've just received. There you go. For Chicago plant, under the raw material storage location, we got a quantity of 100. So that just confirms that we really did receive the stock. Alright, exercise time. Question number 1. Create a new material for coffee beans. Number 2. Create a new vendor for supplying coffee beans. So give it this address. So it's asking you to create. So the question is asking you to create a vendor and give it this address. Number 3. Order 10 kilos of coffee beans from the newly created vendor and issue a PO output. Number 4. Do a goods receipt and invoice receipt for the PO that you just created in step number 3. Question number 5. Check the stock levels and ensure your stock is increased or created by 10 kilos. Alright, the first question is create a new material for coffee beans. Let's go create it. Go to MM01, close purchasing, under material management, material, create MM01. So we're going to call it coffee beans, say 01, 02, doesn't matter, and it's a raw material. Click OK. Then select basic 1, purchasing and accounting. The plant is Chicago 1. Hit enter. And then give a description of coffee beans. You could have in any kind of description. French roast or basic unit of measure pound, material group 015, and purchasing group anything, and valuation class of 3,000. And you want to exit it. Yes. So the material that we have created is coffee beans 01. Create a new vendor for supplying coffee beans with this address: Gourmet Coffee Company LLC, 2000 Michigan Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Go back and close this tab. Go to purchasing, master data, vendor, create. Now we have already created 4001, so we're going to create 4002. If you try to create 4001, it doesn't work because it already exists. Select 4001 as to copy it from, and select US 01, US 01, and hit enter. So we're going to say Gourmet and give it a code. And there's an address here, right? 2000 North Michigan Avenue. City is Chicago. Region is Illinois. Then hit enter, 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 and save. The vendor that we have created for Gourmet Coffee Company is 4002. Third question, order 10 kilos of coffee beans for the newly created vendor. How do you do that? Go to purchasing, ME21N, vendor 4002, enter the purchase order of US 01, the company code of US 01, put in the material coffee beans 01 and say 10 kilos, right, or 10 pounds. What's the plant? Scroll to the right and put in a plant of Chicago 1. And what's the price? Say 10 USD per pound, and save it. Copy the PO number 45000171181. The fourth question is do a GR and IR for the PO created. That's easy too, right? Select the PO, go back, go to follow on functions, MyGo. Put your PO number in, and you got a quantity of 10, and you got to put it in the storage location, say raw material. Click item OK and save. Alright, so we've created a goods receipt. Now we're going to create an invoice receipt. So put your purchase order number in there, put today's date in, and the balance is $100, so we're going to pay the invoice that we received is for $100, and make sure the balance is green and click save. If you don't see any errors, your invoice is created successfully. So we have created a goods receipt and an invoice receipt. Finally, check the stock levels. What transaction code do you use for that? MMPE. So go back and go to MMBE for coffee beans and execute. You have 10 pounds of coffee beans in your storage location.